Sure, I think maybe we can do just some sort of the introduction. Just wait until people actually join. So let's open the thing. Just want to see.
I'll let you talk, and when you don't want to talk anymore, then you give it to me.
Okay. We currently have 2 viewers. No, we are now on 0 viewers. 0 viewers. Yes, we are live actually. Yeah, we can post it in MP now.
But nobody has the link until now.
Yeah, we can post that now. So, wait, let me get all the links for you then. I mean, we only need the YouTube and Twitch links actually.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm gonna send you that. Here's the YouTube link for the video. And then here's...
Post it in the music production chat.
Yeah, I'm just gonna send it to Petro so that he can forward it to the music production one. Alright, so yeah, it looks like we're live now. Just waiting for some more people. We have 1 person watching us on VK right now, another person watching on YouTube, which is you probably. Anyway, so... Oh, okay, so then we have 2 viewers at the moment. So basically, welcome guys, and I'm just gonna do a quick introduction of why we're here today. So me and Dranenk will be talking about something called music theory, which is really important in music production. So we'll tell about some interesting things, which I think you might have not known about, and show how you can apply them on your actual music. Hopefully that might be useful to you, and we'll be starting as soon as we get a bit more people, as soon as people actually start joining us. So just bear with us for a couple minutes and then we'll get going. Yeah, well, I mean, it's actually pretty stable. I'm surprised how stable it is. The connection, I mean. Because I thought we would be running at like 30 kilobits, and we're actually running at 100 to, or 1200, which is pretty amazing, I should say. Can you hear my voice okay though?
I can hear you.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, we should be pretty good. Oh, so we're at 4 viewers on YouTube now. That's amazing. That's actually pretty good. Hello guys. Hello guys. I think that's the best we can actually dream of for now.
More than I've ever dreamed of.
I don't know. 3 now. Okay.
Talking too much crap. It will get better.
Yeah, I need to post the links as well, just so that my people know about it. See, music production. Yeah, so people should be joining now. Okay, yeah, I think we can actually get going now because we have 5 people watching us on YouTube, 2 more people watching us on Twitch, and 1 person watching us on Facebook. So I think that's pretty good, and we can begin. So guys, if there is any problems and you want things to be louder or you want things to be quieter, just write them in the chat and we'll read the chat and just fix it. So Urban Husky is just saying hello, Urban Husky. Guess we'll get going now.
Alright, I think I'm gonna start with a basic method or basic system you can use even with no music theory knowledge or no prior knowledge, so that you can get nice sounding chords, nice voice leading, and nice rhythmic stuff going without
wait a sec. It looks like we have no sound at the moment, so I'm just gonna. Seems like people are saying there's no sound. Wait, let me make sure Discord sound is actually working correctly. Let's try this. So now I think there should be some sound.
Is there sound? Can you hear us?
Let's just wait until they reply and see if that works. It's back. Okay, good. We can keep going now, I think.
Alright, so nobody heard what I've just said.
No, I think it actually just went down at some point, but they heard the beginning, so
Alright.
keep going.
I'm just taking it away from here. So first thing you wanna do is you wanna decide what mode or what scale you wanna have your song in. And I'm talking about general scale, not about A minor or D minor or stuff like that. Just if you wanna make your music in minor or in major or in any other mode. So that's the first thing you wanna decide. And in Ableton, there is a real nice trick I'm gonna show you, so that you only have to use the white keys. You don't need the black keys, and that really helps, getting wrong keys out of the way of your music. So if you want to go with minor, you start on A, like this. I'm gonna enable the sound, so I hope you can hear this. I'm gonna make it louder. Is it loud enough? I hope.
Yeah, maybe a bit louder.
Something like that. Or I'm gonna just add a limiter on the master. Push it. So, alright. So you just start on A if you're doing a minor song, which is, I think, like 80% of songs that are out there now. So how do you build a chord? You just place, like, I'm gonna turn this off again because it makes you crazy. Alright, you're gonna do a minor scale, and if you're gonna do a minor scale, you just place notes on every white key until you reach your starting key again. So if you start on A, you're gonna place notes on all white keys, and the next A is 1 octave. So it sounds like this. Alright, this is your key. If you instead would like to make a major key, then you just start on C and do the same stuff. So you just put in on the white keys. This is C major then. Alright, but we're not going to do that now. We're going to go with minor. So, and how do you build a chord out of this? So first thing is, you most likely want to start on the first note, so on A. And the way you build chords is pretty simple, actually. You just take that note and go upwards and skip the next note, which would be B, and then place the next one. So you just skip a note, and you do that again. So you just take this note, go to the next one, which is D, and you skip it, and go to E. And then you have a minor chord, your first chord, which sounds like this. It sounds distorted. Yeah, maybe I've turned it up too much. All right. Good. So this is the way you get all your chords. So if you want to do another chord, for example, let's take E, the chord on E, you just place the note, you skip the next one, which is F, would be here, and you place the next one, which is G. And then you do that again. So the next one would be A, you skip it, and you have to return here now, and place the B, which is also a minor chord. So when you do it this way, you don't have to worry about if your chord is major or minor, because it is based on the major or minor notes in your key, so you don't have to worry about if this note is G or G sharp. All right, so let's go with A. A, skip B, plays C. C, skip D, plays E. This is your first chord. Now, if you want to get a evenly distributed sound, which is a good thing, is if you take the middle note and put it up 1 octave, like this. And to make it complete, you place a fourth note, which can be any of these keys. So you could place A, E, or C again. Just put it there. And if you take A, then you've got the most equally distributed voice leading. So it's just A, skip the next one, E, skip A, C, skip E, and A again. So it sounds like this. All right. But all right. So after this, you just pick any other note. You can go with any note in this to get a nice sounding chord progression. So it's really not that important. You can go anywhere from here. So let's go, for example, with F. You can put it upwards or downwards. But if you put it upwards, you would get over the note E, which is, I guess you could do it in modern music, but in classical music that would be something that's not allowed. So you go downwards with it. So, and as before, build the chord over F. So that's F, skip the next one, which would be G, and place the next. Then again, do it again. A, skip the next one, place the next, which is C. All right. It sounds like this, which kind of sounds like okay, but you wanna get a more equally distributed voice leading here, and you can achieve that just by shifting these notes up and down as long as they and look that they align with the notes before or are not very far away from them. So you can see one note is missing. We have F, A, and C, and we again can just double a note. So any note, F, A, C, F. You see F would look like it's the most near note. So let's try this. Sounds very classical, yeah, because the stuff I'm explaining to you is very classical. All right, just go with another note. So which note do we want to place? Let's go with C. All right, C. Go up one, go up again. E. Go up one, skip, go up again, and you have C, E, G, and you can again shift all these notes as you want. Here it would probably be a bit out of place. Here it looks nice, like the G looks nice. E also looks nice, but here it looks even nicer. So you put it here, C, E, G, and again you can just double any note. So C, E, G would be a bit of a high skip here. So let's not do that. C again, which is nice. Then this note stays the same all the time, which later could be a pad or something. Let's listen to this. Sounds nice. Let's put this away. And then on the fourth note, just see that I'm gonna make these chords a bit longer here, like this. All right, we're coming to our fourth chord, which is, you know, the famous final chord in any four chord song. For starters, we start here, so which is a nice thing to do is on the last chord in your loop is go with the dominant chord, which would be the chord on E or the chord on G. So you could take either one. Let's go with the E one. That's a more classic one. And E, then skip one, G, skip one, H. Or B. H, it's in German. All right, B. E, G, B. Again, you can distribute the voices nicer. And here something happens, like you are here pretty nice. This looks pretty nice. This also looks pretty nice. This also looks pretty nice. And here a note is missing, right? You could just double the E like this, because it's okay for the bass to jump. That's something people actually like, if the bass jumps. So let's just do it like this and listen how it sounds. It's gonna loop it. All right, and this is the basis of your song. Like this are the chords, and this is the voice leading, and from here you can start to really get creative. You know, decide what you actually want to do. So, do you want these voices here in the middle to be pads, or do you want it more like an arpeggio, or more like steps? You know, you can, for example, do this after you've got your voices done. You also can do stuff like this. I'm just gonna show you how quickly you can make something out of this. Just pick anything. I'm gonna pick this one. All right, and with this thing going on, you can just double this and do all kinds of stuff. So for example, I'm gonna take this back in the default position. And now I'm going to distribute all these voices to their respective voice. So, like, I'm going to mute these notes so that only the bass is playing here, and I'm going to call this bass. and duplicate it. Then here I'm gonna mute these notes. Just take the melody, which I'm gonna call melody. Then again duplicate it. Mute these ones. Enable the middle ones, which I'm gonna call bit pads for now. And I'm just gonna just insert pads here. Anything really. Don't take any synth. Alright, then let's go for the bass. Let's choose a lead. Let's go with the synth here. Let's go with wavetable. Anything, doesn't matter now. All right. Then let's double this again. Let's add some arpeggio. So you just enable everything again. Then you choose a sound, anything, for example, bell stuff. Let's go like maybe something like this. Alright, and you just enable it, and there are very nice MIDI effects. Just place it there. I don't know why Ableton always does this mistake. It's distorted. I don't like this distorted sound. I hope I'm gonna turn up the volume for you guys so that I can turn it down in Ableton. Alright, I hate this sound. Let's just take a preset here. Let's go with keys. Alright, so this is the basis of your song, and now you can just, start with the creative part. You can try to make a melody that sounds cool. It's always a good idea to stay within the notes of the chord you chose. can go to other notes as well. But if it sounds strange, just remember you can always go back to the notes that are in the chord. So let's just try stuff. Here we have C, E, G. H would be the sept, what we call it in German. So it's the seventh. It sounds already a bit strange, so let's keep it. And actually here we go to B, because you know it's a nice downward motion. Stay this note. Yeah.
So we have a question.
Right.
People asking what's the new wavetable instrument in Ableton, and asking if that's a new addition to Suite. Could you explain more about that, please?
The wavetable?
Yeah, the wavetable instruments, the one that you were using before.
Yeah, that's a new addition to, I think, to the newest version of Live and to Suite. Yes, so you have to get the biggest version of Live and the newest version of Live to get it, or maybe you can just also buy it like an just like an add-on, like any VST. But I'm not sure that's possible. But maybe it's a wavetable synthesizer, so it's like Serum. You probably all heard about it. Yeah, it's a wavetable synth. So a wavetable synth is what's the cool? So the cool thing about wavetable is that you can morph between various waves while they are playing. And that's what wavetable synthesis is. It's in reality, it's just another subtractive synthesis, but you morph between wavetables while they are playing, and that's what makes this. You can't do that with normal synthesizers. I'm doing that with my mouse now, so but you can put it on automation, and you get all kinds of these cool sounds with it. It's always a bit aggressive, I'd say, this kind of synthesis. So maybe you should take care, because if every synthesizer you use is a wavetable synthesizer, your mix gets pretty crowded pretty fast. So just maybe if you do that, just really take care about which frequencies you use, and maybe cut out frequencies you don't want to use, so that your mix doesn't get just loud and sound like noise in the end.
And does this one also support custom wavetables? Do you know? So that you can upload some really custom and.
That's a good question. There is a user setting here, and it's empty.
Oh yeah, and it says drop
drop sample here. Yeah, it looks like it. I've never used it, but I think it wasn't available from the start. I think this is an upgrade.
That's really cool. I think it looks really nice. And it's like, sometimes in Serum I used to upload pictures, as a JPEG or PNG picture into Serum and just trying to turn it into a wavetable and just see how it turns out. So now there's such a thing in Ableton as well.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if the wavetable in Ableton can do all the stuff that Serum can, but if it can't, then it's at least like they're like 99%. So I'd say you don't need Serum if you have Ableton and you have this wavetable. It's pretty amazing. I can show you later, maybe in another song, sounds I made with it. All right, so I hope you did get all that stuff about how to build chords and how to distribute the voices, because I went through it pretty fast, I think, and I hope you were able to keep up with that. I don't like this note here. You can put the note D here because it's E, the chord is E, G, H, and the next topic I wanted to cover is you don't have to stop after building a chord after you put 3 notes on it. You can continue doing the chord. So if you, for example, want to expand this chord, you just continue the method I told you earlier. You just go to the next note, which would be C, and you skip it, and you put the next one in, which would be D. That would be the 7th of the famous 7th chord, which actually sounds very nice, mostly on the dominant chord, which is the 5th chord. I'll explain the functions of these in a short while. And you can do that again. So you can go to E and then to F, because we always skip one note, as I said. What you shouldn't do is place both of these notes. Maybe there are applications for it, but mostly I think it won't sound that good. So you have to decide, you want the 9th or the 7th. Let's try the 7th here, the D, which is the D. I like it. I'm gonna... This is the creative part. Yeah.
So we have a question asking,
All right.
whether you said to use the 7th and 9th or not to use the 7th and 9th.
I said you can use them, but not at the same time. So I wouldn't recommend using them at the same time. So either go with the 7th or with the 9th, but you know, it's always like there could be applications for it where you want both and it sounds good. So this is not a strict rule. So just go with it if it sounds right, but I would not try not to So my first instinct would be just place the 7th or the 9th. All right, so let's dive deeper into the theory. So do I still have the... Yeah, I still have these notes.
So we just had a workflow tip from Urban Husky.
Yeah.
Saying that if you want the notes to connect to each other, instead of dragging the note starts and ends manually, just press the legato button, which will apply to all. Yeah, so.
Where is that?
The legato button. Honestly, oh, I think on the top there. Yeah, there it is.
There it is. All right. Yeah, let's use it. All right. Thanks for the tip. Now I'm gonna cover the functions of these chords. So I'm gonna. This is a strange method I learned for myself. This is a very strange way to do it, but I think it's practical because you then really see it in your DAW what the chords, the functions of the chords. So I'm gonna just use MIDI notes to write text, basically. All right, like this should be a T. All right, this is the letter T, maybe like that. The first chord in on your keys is has the function the tonic chord. It's called the tonic chord, and the function of or the experience the listener has when he hears it is the like coming home or the basis of your composition of your song. So if you play the tonic chord, it's either the start of your song or you're finished with your song, or you just want your song to calm down. So if you're composing something and you really just want to take it down a notch, maybe after the finale or something, then you can go to the tonic chord, which is the first one. Also, the third chord has also this feeling. So you also can go to the third chord, which is C, E, and G, to get this feeling. It's another color, I'd say. So you can choose. This is again something where the creative process comes in composition. So if you want to calm down, you can go either for the first chord or for the third chord, which both have this quality of calming down and finishing your song, or bringing it at least down and a notch. Okay, then let's go to the fourth chord. Well, let's go to the fifth chord. The fifth chord, I'm sure everybody knows already, is the dominant chord. I hope I can draw a digital D with MIDI notes. Yeah, this looks like a D. All right, and the dominant chord in your song has the feeling, or the feeling when a listener hears it is like the most, how do you say, the most intense chord you can play in your song. So it's the highlight of your song. It's the finale. It's when James Bond would fight the last guy. It's when everything's coming up in a movie and just the Avengers are at war, like really after 90 minutes shit is going down. So that's the feeling you get with the fifth chord, which is the dominant chord. You also can get this feeling with the 7th chord, which is the chord on G. This also has the dominant character. So again, you can choose when you want your music to go to the action, you can choose if you want to do it on this chord or on this chord. This chord would be E, G, and D, and this would be G, B, and D. Just as I told you, just skip a note, which would be F, place it, and then again skip a note, which would be A, and place it. This goes for all chords. All right, then we also have a function here, which is called in German, the subdominant chord. I don't know English. The English.
In English, it's also called subdominant, so the names are pretty much all the same.
That's amazing. That's amazing. All right. So this is the subdominant chord, and the feeling you get when you play this chord is like something is happening. So the story has started in your song. So you're not at home anymore, like when you play the tonic chord. It's like going on an adventure, doing something different, going somewhere else. So you get this feeling of your music develops, it changes. So every time you want your music, to get a change, to do something different, then you go here. This is like going for an adventure, doing something different. But it's not as intense as the finale. So a good thing is, and that's the classical cadence, is of course you go from your start of the song, from your bass, from your calmness to exploring the world, doing something with your music, and bringing it up to the dominant chord, where you have your finale, and after the finale you can bring it back to your tonic chord, or to this tonic chord, of course. So then you have the classical cadence, which is, I think, the most powerful emotion you can get from music theory. So of course you can change all these chords according to where you wanna go. So you don't have to do it like the classical theory, which would be tonic, subdominant, dominant, tonic. You can place all sorts, of course, everywhere. But if you want the most intense a story you can ever tell, this would be it. With the theory, of course, this has nothing to do with sound designs and how fat you make your synths or so. All right, then we still have a few chords I haven't assigned functions to, so let's just go over them. I hope I know this. This chord on F has also a subdominant quality. So you always have, this is a nice thing about music theory, you always have the choice between two chords to get of kind of the same feeling, but in a different color. So, this subdominant chord is like an adventure, and this subdominant chord is like a different adventure, going somewhere else, which is nice. So you don't only have one chord you can play with. All right. I hope this is correct. Yeah, this is correct. Emma, you have to correct me if I'm talking something wrong here.
Yeah, it all seems pretty good right now. So
Yeah,
the chord that you have, so the FAC chord is the one we actually call submediant, which is essentially a really similar function to a subdominant chord, except of that it just has a different name, so it's sort of a leading note into the next chord. I think that's about it.
All right. Submedian, it's the English. All right. Cool. So this is not really part of the scale. All right. Then, as you may have noticed here, I haven't put a function below it, and that's because this chord has a special quality to it. If you look closely, you can spot something here. You can see when you know music theory, you know that this is a minor chord because the difference between this note and this note is a minor third, which is, if you count this note, count the notes, it's 1, 2, 3. So 3 half tones up, and that's minor. If it would be like this, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4 half tones up, which would be a major chord. Yeah, and that's true for every chord here. Yeah, so you go from C, you count 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a major chord. 1, 2, 3. It's a minor, again minor, major, and major. But what happens here? If you count this 1, 2, 3, it would be minor, but then you continue counting 1, 2, 3. And this does not happen at any other chord. So if you count here again, 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So there is always this play between 3 and 4 half tones in chords. So either you have a 4 on the bottom half and 3 on the top half, or you have 3 on the bottom half and 4 on the top half. This is not true for this chord. It's 3 everywhere, and it sounds strange. Sorry, this is not the default piano. Yeah, this is the default piano. You can hear it sounds kind of strange. You can hear this. This has this special quality. It's called a tritone, and I think it's pretty difficult to use in modern music, I'd say, but it's a valid chord. So if you happen to make your chord progression and use this chord and it sounds like nice, then keep it. It just may be a bit difficult to achieve a nice sound with it, but of course you can use this exactly for what it is, to create tension or to create a different experience a listener wouldn't expect. So, for example, if you do a theme for a movie and need some horror element or something, you can use this chord in the right moment and people will freak. Okay. So these are the functions. This is not necessarily something you have to know, when doing the stuff I told you before, because I did all this without telling you which chord has which function. But it is nice if you know it. If you want that feeling of adventure, or if you want that feeling of tension, or if you want that feeling of calmness, and you know which chord you need to achieve that, that's of course helps. All right, so let's take this. Let's duplicate this. All right, so I'm just gonna do a very quick rerun of things, so you really memorize this, because this is the basis of your song. And if you get this right, every note, every melody, everything will sound nice in your song. So just very quickly, how to put chords one after each other. So you start at the tonic chord mostly. You don't have to, you can start on any chord. It's not written in stone that you have to start on the tonic chord. So you can start anywhere. But let's for now start on the tonic chord, and then just pick any chord. before we have picked another tonic chord because it sounds nice, going from the bass to another bass. It's some kind of change, but not really. But we can go anywhere from here. So let's. I think we went here, but maybe we went here. I'm just gonna take a look. So I'm doing something different now. No, we went to F, A, C. So we went from tonic to submedian, Elmar said. Then this time let's go for the other tonic. So C. Let's just copy that. No, I won't worry about voice distribution. Also, you guys hear how that sounds like. All right, then let's go for this one, and then last, the other dominant chord. All right. And you already can hear it sounds quite kind of nice just by placing it like this. You of course can move this down. And now from here we can do the voice separation stuff, which I told you. You just put this up an octave, and then you put any other note, you duplicate any other note. Last time I duplicated A because you get the most equal distribution if you do it like that. Everything is quite nicely spaced apart, which is nice, but because when you do the melody and you do stuff like this, you go up and you go down, then you actually have the place to do it. You see, you have the place to go around with your notes. Whether if you would leave your chord like this, and you would put your duplicated note A here, and then you wanna go down with your melody, then you immediately clash with your second voice, which is not a problem by default, but if you're doing heavy synths and heavy pads or steps and things like that, this is where actually the frequencies get in the way of each other. So your melody and your pad or your step or whatever this will be in the way of the melody or the voice if this is singing. That's why it's a good idea to space your voices out. So not like this. Just take the one that's in the middle, put it up an octave, and then take any other note, E or A. Let's go with E this time. But if you already see, if you go with E, you have a bit of a space problem. Maybe if you want to go down like this. But that's not that big of a problem. You can also go with C again, I think. No, let's go with E. Let's look how that checks out. All right. Here we see the C. A to C is nice. E to E is nice. C to G is quite a bit of a jump, which is not so nice in, when you're doing it not in the melody or not in the bass, because people tend to focus on the bass or on the melody. They're not really actively listening to what happens to your pads and or steps, and you don't want to put your attention there. You want to put your attention on making an amazing melody or bass line or something like that. So keep the jumps for the important part of your music, or for the melody or for the bass. So C, E, G, and then we can duplicate the C again. C, C, E, G. Then D, F, A. This is nice, this is nice, this is also nice. then we can just duplicate any note. D, F, A. I think this would be okay. Yeah, it would be okay, but I don't think it's that nice. Yeah, it's because, you know, this voice goes upwards, this voice goes upwards, this voice goes upwards. And that's kind of a bit boring if everything goes upwards all the time. I'm just gonna look if... yeah, I know it already. It's in classical theory, I think this also would be forbidden to do this, because if you look at it, it's C and G, and C and G, if you would bring the G, I'm just gonna disable the other notes so that you can better understand what I'm talking about here. So if I'm putting this down here, this is one, if you count the half tones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 steps away. And if you count this, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 steps away. And 7 steps is the fifth. It's the outer bounds of your chord. It's C, E, G, the outer bounds of your chord. And here it's also D, F, A, the outer bounds of your chord. And that's the fifth. And if you do a parallel fifth, which happens here, you go from C to D and from G to A, which it tends to sound boring. Just listen to it. It's very a kind of a boring sound. So you don't want that. This is something that's forbidden in classical music theory. So you are, in theory, not allowed to do this. So it would be better, you know, to go down here, do something like that. Or really any other thing than this. So let's just put this note back here where it was. And it does not matter if it's away an octave, because essentially it's the same as it would be here. It's just spaced an octave up, but it's still forbidden to do that. And that's also a nice thing about this kind of spacing of the notes, is because now you actually have the place here to not do that and go down with your note to somewhere else. This chord is DFA, so D or F. But you always have to watch out for this kind of parallel fifth. It is true for every voice in your voice leading. So, for example, C and G is again fifth because of 7 semitones. And if you happen to go here to a fifth again, I think it would be here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, this would be forbidden too. But this does not happen, of course, because we don't have this note in our A minor scale. So this is the correct, this is allowed. And it sounds nice. All right, let's do the spacing for these notes. Just put it up there. It looks nice. This is a small jump, which is okay for the melody. This is very nice. This is a big jump, but it's cool because it's in the bass, and we have to double one note. Let's go here because, you know, then you go small jump, very small step, and big jump. Again, very classical sounding. But also has a nice quality to it, and I'm gonna just detach this here now. Yeah, everything is kind of like that. If you consolidate your clips, it's gone. All right, and again, if you do it like this, this is your bass, this is your melody or the foundation of your melody. Also, it's only the foundation of your bass. Of course, you can jump around with the bass too, so you can go something like this with the bass. This is only the foundation. You can play with the notes and the melodies afterward. So I'm just gonna again copy it. These were the pads. I'm just gonna show you if I mute this. And you see it sounds nice. I'm gonna mute this because this is our melody section. And again, I'm gonna copy it. Do we have two pads? I don't think this is an ARP. And here we have the bass. Let's listen to how this sounds. Ah. All right, let's do. That's not a good idea to do this. So let's not do this. Maybe that. Nah, these are all. Yeah, that's kind of nice. You notice maybe this is my ACE chord. And if I would continue this chord, it's A, C, E, G, and H. So I can play this note A, or H. I'm always in my German thinking. Sorry, the B chord, the B note. All right, so you can place the B here because it's just like the ninth.
Piotr is saying that that the not good idea that you had actually sounded pretty decent to him. But I mean, it actually did. It sounded pretty good to me as well.
Who said it's not so placing the B here is not a good idea?
No, he said that the one you said wasn't a good idea. It actually sounded pretty decent.
All right. Yeah, there are, of course, what I'm talking about here is a very basic foundation of music theory. There is much more to it. This is just bringing it down to a level where you can start, and there are many aspects of it where you can just go for something else, which are founded in theory, but you have to really dive deep into music theory to actually know why you can place that note here and it sounds good. Of course, if you don't want to do that, you just can place it and listen to it. It may sound good, and if it sounds good, just leave it there. All right, so let's listen to how this sounds. like that. C again is possible. It's a note in this chord. C, E, G. Let's do something like that.
So basically, at this point, it all goes down to just working on your creative parts while still staying in key of the chord that you have, essentially.
Yeah, so that's a nice thing, because what you don't want to do really is, just doing music theory all the time. Because if you just do music theory, which you very well could do, but where is your creativity then, and where is the real stuff, that it's fun about making music?
Yeah, that's true.
It's because if you just do this all the time, it's like doing math. Your music will sound great, of course, because it's founded in solid theory, but it will not be something very interesting, and maybe you will lose even interest in it, just following rules all the time. The nice thing is, if you're well founded in this system, when you compose music, I think you want to be always to alter, so to switch between following rules and being creative, and to oscillate in sort of between these two. So so that you try to so when you do something and it sounds kind of wrong or out of place, you can just think, why would it sound like that? So maybe I could do something with the theory so that it sounds right. And other times you may be thinking, this sounds too default, too standard. What could I do here to make it more interesting? So the music theory basically is just there to help you to, if you're in a place where your music just doesn't sound quite right, or doesn't sound like you want it to sound, you can go to the theory, just pick any chord like I showed you earlier, and then just try them out, and maybe you'll find the chord that you were looking for with theory, and then from there you can go and be creative with that. I think that's pretty much it. I hope this wasn't too confusing what I did here, because I feel like it was very confusing.
No, that was actually really, really good, and it was really helpful.
Yeah.
So, I guess now it's question time then. So we'll be taking questions on YouTube, Twitch, Telegram, or whatever you watch us and where you listen to us. So if you have any questions, just feel free to ask them now.
Yeah, best would be like now questions about this stuff I just showed you, or expanding on this stuff I just showed you.
So we have a question
Alright.
from Renish, who's asking if we can touch on pentatonic scales, but I guess I will do that when I start my thing, and I will be explaining more about some ethnic scales like Dorian, Phrygian, and I will also touch on pentatonic for that. So.
Alright, yeah, that's something that interests me as well. But this kind of how to build scales, how to build chords. I think this is a technique so you can apply to. I hope I'm not saying something wrong here, but I think you can apply this to every scale. So
Exactly,
it
yeah.
does not matter if you use a mode or if you use a pentatonic scale. The method of building scales is like is one of the methods of building chords is like just skip the next note and place the next note. Something like that.
So Piotr is asking if we can review his Ableton project, which he composed without actually knowing much about music theory. So do you think we should do that now, or we can keep it till the end and just do it during the demo drop?
Is it I don't know what did he use? He only stock plugins and that's
Maybe so. I think, can you just send the project now through either Discord or just Telegram or whatever you want so that we can test it out? Yeah, he's saying it's Ableton Piano, so it should be pretty easy.
all right. Then
Yeah, and Firefox is also saying that it wasn't confusing at all and very well done. So, and I actually
oh,
agree. I
thanks.
think it was amazing.
Thanks.
It was really good.
Is it this one?
Yep. So I guess I'm gonna switch.
I hope this works. Just by oh no, it does not.
Okay, so shall we get going with my part then? If it looks like there are no more questions, or there might be. And then the Ableton
Shouldn't
project.
we
Do you think we
try
can
this
keep the
Ableton project?
project until the end, so that when we do the
Of
demo
course,
drop, we
of
just
course,
review all the
of
projects
course.
together?
All right then.
Let's do that then. Okay. So
Just start your stuff.
okay.
I'm quiet.
Okay, so thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That was Dranenk, an amazing producer, an amazing person, and I hope you
Thanks.
learned a lot from what he just said. Personally, I actually learned quite a lot of things, so thank you very much. And
No problem.
let's keep going now. So, ladies and gentlemen, my name is DJ Alimario, if some of you haven't known. Well, my real name is obviously Elmar, and today I would like to talk to you more about the theoretical and harmonical consistency of music. So I will try to take what Dranenk just explained just a step higher and actually talk about all the different modes, the different scales, and I would like to start off by a thing called a circle of fifths, which I think is really important in music theory, and which basically founds the entire music theory, as I think. So let me just navigate to this folder down here, and right here I have my circle of fifths, and if we just open it like this, you should be able to see the circle of fifths. So why do I call it a fundamental part of music and music theory as a whole? This is simply because how scales are formed. So there are two ways of thinking of scales. First, a way of thinking of them is the intervallic, so basically thinking as a tone, semitone, semitone, tone, tone, semitone, in that sort of way. And I mean, it sort of works, and it actually works pretty well as long as you just play some scale and you can play it out and you can start working on it. But there is actually a bit more to it, and there is obviously key signatures and there's obviously different keys, and I would like to talk about those right now. So as you can see, I opened the circle of fifths, and we can see here the two different sides of it. The first side is going right with adding new sharp signatures. So you can see we have F sharp added first, then we have F sharp maintaining and adding another one, which is C sharp, and then it keeps going all the way until we have 6 sharps right here. So if we go the other way, we have adding flats. So you can see we have a B flat, then we have a B flat and a D flat, and it also keeps going until we end up with 6 flats. So basically that's how it works theoretically, but now I would like to switch more to a practical use of this. So I will try to change my view to the piano right now. So hopefully you can see the piano if I just do this. Yeah. So basically, talking about the circle of fifths, it is fairly simple when it comes to talking about it on the piano. So we start with all the white keys, which is a C major chord, or a C major scale, or it could also be an A minor scale. So the way we play it is, I'm just going to bring the volume up on my piano. I'll just mute this chord for a second if I can do that. Okay, we have this chord muted now, so we can proceed with this. So we have our C major, which is the most basic scale, which is pretty common, and obviously it has no key signatures. So if we just look at the circle of fifths right now, the bird crimps, yeah, that was weird. Anyway, so we have our C major scale, which is essentially all white keys without any accidentals, and we can see without any key signature as well. And we can see that on the circle of fifths. As you can see, there is a big C. Wait, I'm just going to try and make a view so that you can actually see both of them at the same time. If we do this, and I'm just going to bring the piano a bit bigger here. So now you should be able to see the circle of fifths in my piano. So we start with the very top, which is a C major. All white keys, as I said, no key signature. Then let's go a step right. So if you go a step right, essentially what we do is we go a fifth up. So we have our C, then we go to G. And then we start our new scale on the G, which is going to be G major. However, you can see that it has one added sharp to it. The sharp is always added, the new sharp is always added on a seventh step of the scale, which is called a leading note. So in this scale, the leading note would be F, but since we're sharpening it, we're going to go all the way to F sharp. So let's start going with G major. That's basically it. And as we go along the circle of fifths, we actually go up a fifth, maintain the old sharp, and then add another one on the seventh. So starting on C major, we then go up a fifth, starting on G, then going up another fifth, starting on D, and so it goes. Eventually, the only thing that you actually have to remember is just in which order all the sharps and all the flats are added. And let me tell you how that works. So basically, let's play a B major scale, for example. So here's our B, and I already know that B major has 5 sharps. How do I know it? I basically just memorized the circle of fifths, but for you right now, you can just check it out and see it on the screen. I hope you can see it as well. And so what are the 5 sharps? They are always added in a certain order, and this order never changes. So the first sharp that is always added is F sharp, then C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, A sharp, and E sharp, which is F. So we have 5 sharps, meaning that we have all those notes sharpened. So if we just try playing it now, and we easily get the scale just by knowing which notes we have sharpened. So essentially what that allows to create, it allows to just compose in any scale based on the harmonic thinking about the scale. So you know how many sharps you have, and you can base the scale on that. Also, another cool thing is that if you look at the circle of fifths right now, you can see that it does not only have the black big letters, it also has the green small letters, which are relative minors. So a relative minor is actually the key with the same key signature as the major. So for example, if we're talking about C major, we have a relative minor for C major, which is going to be A minor. And you can see it on the circle of fifths. And basically it means that if we play the natural minor, the natural A minor, we still have all the white keys. However, there is one interesting thing about minors, is that there is 3 different types of minors. The first type of minor is, as I said, the natural minor, which has the same key signature as the major. But there is also a harmonic minor. A harmonic minor basically means playing all the same notes as the key signature, but having your 7th note, so again the leading note, raised. So if we were going to play a harmonic minor, we would play it with a G sharpened. So it's going to sound like this. Then there's also the melodic minor, which isn't used very often, to be honest, but it still exists. And the difference between harmonic and melodic is that we also have our sixth bass. So essentially we have F sharpened to F sharp, then G sharpened to G sharp. And that's how it works on the way up. And then on the way down, we just play all the natural notes of the scale. So if we were to play our melodic minor, it would sound like this. And essentially that's the basic behind the circle of fifths. So how can that be applied on actual practical knowledge? There is a way of working directly in your digital audio workstation, as Dranenk explained it before. However, there's also a different way of working on it, is actually trying to compose on piano. So, for example, let's take some common key which is used quite often. Let it be D minor. D minor is going to have one flat, so our B is going to be flattened. And we're going to have a seventh phrase as well. So let's just play a harmonic minor of D. And the harmonic. So we have the scale, and then everything we can do pretty much how Dranenk explained it already. So there is such a thing called the common chord progressions. So let me just bring those up as well. So you can see how that looks. I hope it looks okay for you. Can you guys hear me well? Because I'm not sure if you can actually hear what's happening right now. No replies from the chat. But I guess we're going pretty well. Seems like everything's working just fine. Okay, so I guess I'll just keep going then. So, yeah, let's keep going with the common chord progressions. The way it's made, I'm going to take the simplest key that I can go for, so I'm just going to take C major, but keep in mind that that works for every scale as long as you maintain the circle of fifths. So, for example, it could work as well for G major. So, it's just going to work fine for G major, for any other key, but I'm just going to stick to C major for now, just to make it, just to make things a bit simpler. So, as you can see, we have some common chord progressions, and a really common one would be the first step of the scale, the fourth step of the scale, the fifth, and back to the first. So, actually, all the steps of the scale have their own names. So the first step is called a dominant, then a fourth is called a subdominant, then fifth it's going to be dominant. So essentially we're starting in the tonic key, as Dranenk has mentioned. We just play some chord, and obviously the chords sound good. And then we can go to the fourth, then we can go to the fifth, and back to the first. And the good thing about this is that we don't need to be worried about whether we play majors or minors or however we go about it. Because, as you can see, we just play the note that we have. So it works as well for the major scale as it does for minor scale. So if we just went to play some melody, for example, in, yeah, let's go for C major. We just play like... And that's how we get the chord progression. And essentially it works. It works just as well for the minor key as it works for the major key. So C major, the relative, as I said before, is A minor. We're gonna go for the natural minor for now. And we can play exactly the same progression as it is. So the first, the fourth, the fifth, and the first. So the first is obviously A minor in this case. Then the fourth would be D, D, I'm sorry, yeah. Then back to E and D. Oh, I'm so confused with the names of the letters, I'm sorry. So we start, I just didn't sleep well tonight. We're starting on an A, then we're going to a fourth, which is going to be a D, then we're going to E, and then we're turning back to the tonic to A. So how would the harmonic minor make the difference in this case? As you can see, when we play our fifth, so when we play E, we have this note here. And if we were to play the harmonic minor, it would actually have been raised. And that would be the decisive factor between a minor chord and a major chord. So that will actually sharpen your song a bit. And it depends on whether you choose the harmonic minor, or you choose the melodic minor, or you just choose the natural minor. It will actually depend how your song sounds. But it's not really that much of a difference, so if I just play it now. That's how it's going to sound in natural minor. And now if we go to our harmonic minor, so with a raised 7th, it's going to sound slightly different. And keep in mind that the raising thing, so whenever you have the harmonic minor and you need to raise the note, it only works when your note is a third. So for example, we also have C major as part of our A minor, and we're not going to raise the 5th here. We're just going to raise it when it's a decisive factor between a minor chord or a major chord. So I think you already forgot how the natural minor sounded, so I'm just going to play 2 again. I'm going to start in natural minor and then I'm going to switch to harmonic minor just so that you can hear the difference. So you can hear it sounds pretty similar except of this note. You can barely hear the difference, but it exists. And basically that's how you can build your chord progressions based on the harmonic thinking. So I'm just gonna go and recap through that again. You start with choosing the scale, then you check your scale on the circle of fifths. So for example, if we go for F major, it's gonna be with 1 flat, and you already know how the scale's gonna look like. Wait, let's open the circle of fifths. Yeah, so we're gonna have our B flattened. So let's just try start this on F. Yeah, so that's how our scale is gonna look like. And what we do after that is we essentially just play the chords. And we base the chords on either the way you think about them, because I mean, you're free to actually design and develop your own chords within what you already have. Or you can look at some common chord progressions and just base your song on those. So in this case, we have the first note, and the tonic note is, in this case is going to be obviously F. So then we're going to go to our 4th, which is going to be a B flat in this case. And then we go into 5th, which is going to be C major. Back to tonic. And that's how you can basically make the chord progressions. So my suggestion for you, my personal suggestion would be to make sure and include your tonic chord, your subdominant chord, and your dominant chord. So your 1st, 4th, and 5th chords of the scale, because those are the most important ones, and you really need to make sure to use those. And then the rest you can cover with whatever chord you want. You can go for a 3rd. So it makes something like whatever you want. And basically just try to use those. So in scale of C major again, it's going to be C, it's going to be F and G. So I think that's about it with the circle of fifths. So I'm going to go back to the questions now and see if there is any at all. Gonna try and change my view to the screen, so you should be able to okay, so you should be able to hear me back now, and now we just want to proceed with some actual practical use of this in Logic Pro. So I have 2 projects prepared for you today, and I'll be going through those. The first project I want to look at is called Save It, and that's my production for Layla Arden. So let me just open the project and see how that looks. if you guys have any questions about what I did, just make sure to ask right now in the comment section. I will also go through the modes such as Ionian, Dorian and Phrygian a bit later, but so far I just want to go through all the projects at first. So here we have the project. I hope you can see it really well. And I just want to go through some key points of the project and just show you how theory can actually be applied on practice to create something like this. So if we just listen to the project at first, just a tiny bit of it.
DJ Alimario.
Jag is min dag, jag is min dag. Do not call me no more, don't return to my door. I don't want your love. You is min dag. Saying life all along. Had to find out in the end that's okay, cause it proved my point that we're really good. Yeah.
So I think that's enough to get the idea of what the project is. So you can hear it's a really R&B vibe of the project, and I want to talk about how I created that vibe. So I'm just gonna try and see if I can switch back to my piano so that you can still see the project here. So that should be about it. And right now, if I try playing the project for you,
DJ Alimario.
Jag is min dag,
you'll be able to hear a couple of different sounds going on, and I want to go through those and how they actually harmonically add to the project. So first of all, we obviously have the keys, and the keys are there to define and to show the harmony of the project. So if you just listen to those. So if we just look at what they do on the piano, I'm gonna see if I can switch the piano on now. Yeah, you should be able to hear me now. I'm on the room mic and harder to hear. Oh, I see. Sorry. Let me just add another mic into here. So right now you should be able to hear me pretty well. And let me just go through my piano, and I'm gonna actually route the piano slightly differently so that I can just play it through my device here. Oh, it's already routed the way I want it to be routed. So just tell me if you can hear the piano right now. Double. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I see. Does that work now? Yeah, you should be able to hear the piano right now. Slight echoing, but I'm afraid there's nothing I can do about it. At least the piano is working, so that's what's most important. So anyway, I'm just gonna go through the project again, just to show you a couple of things in it. So back to the keys. So you can see that in this case, I'm not actually using a complete harmony. So I have my complete chords, which is gonna be something like... not even trying to use those. Instead, I'm using a bit harmonizing piano with some reverb on it just to add those harmonic boosts, but not to actually, like, you know, overload it with harmonics. So if we listen to what piano is playing, it's actually playing just simple stuff like this. So you see, it's basically, if we just look at the piano here, it's basically just playing around with the key notes of this of the scale. So we're starting on the tonic chord, which is this, and we obviously have our piano jumping from the fifth back to the tonic. Then the second chord is going to be an F. So we're doing F to F, just to signify the chord again. And then we're going into... So we're going into B flat major, B flat minor, and so for B flat minor I actually decided to go with my root note back to my fifth, and then in the end we're going to C sharp, which is going to be the last chord. So basically I'm just playing around with the chords of the song, but I'm not actually doing the actual chord itself. So now if we look at the bells are actually playing something slightly different, and that's, I saw a question before about adding dissonance to the song, and bells is what actually adds some of those dissonances. So if we listen to the bells, they're actually playing something slightly different. I'm gonna try switch to the piano again. So you see they're playing F sharp and they're playing F natural, and as you can notice, F sharp isn't a part of the scale, so that's what adds a bit of dissonance. If I just try playing it all together, you will hear it, and basically I just like the way it works, and I mean it really works for R&B, so I don't see why not use that. And I think that's a great example of how dissonance can be used. I will also show another one in this project in a second, but let me just show you how this sounds. So you can sort of hear that dissonance, but at the same time it doesn't sound bad. It sounds pretty good. And I think it just, I mean, just feels the song. That's the main point of this thing. So I was gonna talk about another dissonance, which I actually found out later, and originally that was a mistake that I did, and it didn't really work out, unfortunately. But it is in the project, and it's the bass line. So if we look at the final chord of the song, I just want to check if people actually watch the stream. Yeah, we have quite a lot of viewers at the moment, so let's just keep going. So if we look at the final chord, which is just gonna go a bit up. So it's a C sharp minor chord, and the bass line for it, the bass line that I have in the project for it, isn't C sharp. It's actually C natural. So the way that happened, I just fucked up, but that worked out pretty well. And let me just play you how that sounds with the chords, and you'll hear the dissonance. So to avoid the dissonance, I actually tried to not play those together. So I either have the bass line playing, or I have the chord playing. So if you just listen to the end of the sequence here, that's probably when the 808s come in.
Find out in the end, that's okay, cause it proved my point that we're really yeah.
So you see, you kind of hear the chord together with the bass line, and that's why it doesn't give that dissonance effect. However, it actually is there. So if I try to show it on the piano, it's gonna sound like this. That's just the chord on its own. And the dissonance is obviously between C natural and C sharp. So it would sound really clean like this, but what I have is this. And so the way I tried to avoid it is just by playing like this. It sounds bad on its own, but if you play it in the mix, it actually fits pretty well. The reason why I think it really fits the song is because the jump from B flat to C is more natural than this jump, and also the way back from C to the tonic, so to E flat, it actually sounds better. So this one sounds better than this. That's why I decided to keep the bass line like this. So if I just play the whole chord progression together, you'll see how that actually sounds in the mix. So essentially it just sounds like this, and I mean it works pretty well for me. So that's what I wanted to show in this project, and just as how harmony can be applied to R&B projects. I think you learned a bit from it. So if you have any questions regarding this project, make sure to ask them now, because I'm gonna switch to a different one in a second. Just gonna wait a few minutes and just gonna play the song probably.
DJ Alimario.
Yo ist mein Tag, yeah. Yo ist mein Tag. Do not call me no more. Don't return to my door. I don't want your love. Yo ist mein Tag. Say it like so long. Had to find out in the end that's okay, 'cause it proved my point that we're really big.
You can hear it. I literally have no definition of chords whatsoever. All I have is just a bunch of melodies and rhythms playing around the scale, but never actually playing the entire triad together. So that's what I found pretty interesting, and I just decided to keep it this way. The only thing where you can actually hear the chords is the arpeggio that is about to come in. Thank you, SFDR. So enjoy your day, and thank you for watching the live stream. So yes, there is no more questions regarding the project. Therefore, I'm gonna switch to the next one. And the next project I want to show you is more of a pop vibe. However, it still is considered R&B as far as I'm concerned. And let's just open that and see how that looks. Basically, the project is called Goodbye Romeo, and it was written a couple months ago, but I just thought it might be interesting to show it. You can see here, a lot of files is actually bound to stems, because I was working with a bunch of different people on it, including mastering and mixing of it. So the first thing I want to look at in this project is again the harmony of the actual melody, and then I'm going to look at a bunch of things in the vocals of the song, because the vocals are pretty well harmonized in this as well, and I want to get a bit deeper into that. So let me just mute the vocals for now so that I can play you part of the song. Yeah, so basically that's what the project sounds like, and in this case you can actually hear some distinct chord, which are here in the string part. So if I just play that, you can hear the chord progression, which is essentially just so it's something like that. The chord progression is pretty simple, and it was actually made using the technique that I was describing before. So is there something really interesting in this chord progression? There isn't really. It's just a really simple chord progression, and I'm just trying to see if I can talk about something really interesting in this project besides the vocals. It doesn't look like there is much in this. It's just basically the way the project is made, so maybe I can talk about a more compositional side of songwriting. So I'll go a bit away from the music theory now and just talk about how to make a really good pop arrangement. So I think what's really important is to actually make sure that you play a lot with the vocals, because I think you know this feeling when you hear the song and you just feel like the arrangement of the song and the vocals of the song just play a part and they're not the whole thing and they doesn't sound together. That is part of the mixing issue, because people just don't know how to mix the vocals really well to blend into the song. But it might also be another issue, which is just the arrangement which doesn't fit the vocals. And that's probably one of the worst mistakes that an arrangement maker can make. So how to avoid that mistake? Basically, what I do is I just try to vibe to the song. That might sound really simple, that might sound really weird, but that's just the way it works really. Because if you vibe to the song, if you feel the song vibing, then that's really important. So the way you can do that, my first suggestion would be to play with the breaks, because I know a lot of people are trying to just fit in as much as possible and just like fill the arrangement, add some big horns, add some percussion, add a lot of drums, and just make the song like that. But that's not always the good way to do that, because often you want to just make your arrangement slightly simpler and make your arrangement breathe, essentially. So if we just look at what we have here with the vocals.
Think you got to second base, but don't you know it's not a race? Cause I'm just playing while you keep playing, cause you just wanna do it, but you're rushing, you blew it,
And you can sort of feel the vibe and you can feel the pump of the song and you can vibe with the arrangement. So why does that happen that way? If we listen to the vocals alone,
think you got to second base, but
we can really hear well the loud valves of the song. So if we just listen to the first phrase, you can actually hear how she's accenting the every first beat.
think you got to second base, but don't.
So those are the main things that I would personally focus on, and that's where I'm gonna actually put the chord, put the percussion, and try to build my vibe around those accents. And whenever she breaks, I would also try to stop the arrangement. So if we just listen to the vocals together with the bells that I have here. So where are the bells? The bells should be down here, I think. Those are the bells, yeah, there you go. Let's just listen to that.
Think you got to second base, but don't you?
So you hear whenever she says bass and she stops, the arrangement actually stops as well. And I think that's a really important part, and I'm trying to refer to that in the beginning as well. So if you listen to the beginning, it actually stops quite a lot. There's a lot of tape stop effects. And obviously those chords, those bells, I mean, they also play something similar to the rhythm of the vocals. So I think that's what's really important, just to make sure that you actually match the arrangement with how the vocals sound. And yeah, I think that's what's really important. So the breaks can later be used when percussion is introduced for stuff like triplets. So for example, here you can hear how I actually added the triplet in my hi-hats whenever there was a break.
Trying way too hard, but baby, I'm no longer in the flow.
And in here I think somewhere as well. So if you just listen to the hi-hats closely, you'll hear it.
Buy me drinks and you give me flowers and you get down on your knees and you sing there for hours. You talk to me.
So here you can hear it. When she says hours, there's this slight break. So the bells and the whole arrangement basically stops. And all you hear is that triplet on the hi-hats, which was there deliberately, obviously.
Sing there for hours. You talk to me in fashion.
So I think that's an interesting effect that you can also use. And yeah, that's probably going to be one of my first suggestions regarding arrangement writing is just to make sure that you actually use those pauses and you actually try to make the most use out of the space of the song instead of filling it up with a lot of reverb, a lot of instruments and stuff like that. So now if we look at the chorus of the song, we can hear a lot of interesting harmonics, and I'm gonna go into more depth with those. Let's go to the alt chorus here.
You're such a girl, chasing two-face of memory. Here's the top with just a promise. Make a fake it, take a deal, make a good show. Romeo, now it's time to go. We just want your soul, goodbye, Romeo.
So let's just listen to those alone. Right here we have them as well.
Girl, chasing two-face of memory. Here's the top with just a promise. Make a fake it, take a deal, make a good.
So you can actually hear how that thing really feels in the song, and it's not only because of how thick the vocals are, obviously that's part of it, but it's also the way the harmonics work. Because if you remember the chords of the song, we actually started on C sharp, then we went to F, then we went to G. But the difference with these is that they actually play a different harmony. So if we listen to the harmony of the song, which is again the strings here.
Girl, chasing two-face of memory. Here's the top with just a promise. Make a fake it, take a deal, make a good shot.
You can hear how their harmony is different. However, it is still around it. And if I switch back to the piano, you'll be able to hear it. Let me go full screen with the piano now so that you can see it better. So you should be able to hear the sound now. I'm just gonna turn the volume up again. Here we go. So the way this chord progression is actually made, we have our tonic chord, which is C sharp, and we have 4 voices in the vocal thing. So we have obviously the tonic, we have the third, we have the fifth, and then we have another tonic which makes an octave. So that's how the vocals start off. Then, this is a really interesting thing about actually moving chords around, and it's called modulation of chords, or it can also be called, well, there's actually a bunch of different names for it. It depends on the language really. In Russian it's called modulation, in English it's called inversion of chords. And so, we have the tonic chord, then how do we switch it to a different chord? You can go to a completely different thing and do something like this, or so we can do this. We can just play that and then switch here. But why would you do that if you can go in a much simpler way and do that like this? So if we were to switch from C major or C sharp to A sharp, A major, this switch could be made in a much simpler way. Instead of doing a jump, we can invert this chord up here and just do this. And that's basically how the chord progression is built. So if you look at that, you just, I'm going to show the chord progression later, basically just plays this. So, that's it. So it might seem like we're actually just moving notes around, but it's not that. We're actually changing chords. We're starting on C major or C sharp. We're going to A major, and then we're going back to F sharp. But we're doing that in an inverted way, so that we don't actually get to hear those big jumps, and we can hear it in a pretty simple and easy way. You can play that with one hand as well. Yeah, so essentially that's what I wanted to show in this project. It's just that thing of actually just inverting chords and trying to include them in the harmony, because when you're doing a vocal, playing something like that, or just like starting out here, yeah, I mean, I'm here to answer your questions and I'm here to just help you with whatever you want help with. Oh, it says the stream is offline. That's not good.
Yeah, okay. So can you hear me? All right. Oh. It was a nice. My problem is I just can hear and listen to what you play. I can't see it except if I watch the stream, and if I watch the stream, I'm like 10 seconds after the sound. It's a bit strange. What? That would be extremely bad if people wouldn't have heard you in the stream.
Now. Okay, I don't know if the stream is live now. Maybe it's not, maybe it is. No, it's not. It's dead. Is it? Okay. Well, I mean... Okay. So, basically, guys, I was streaming through my mobile phone, if somebody can hear this, and the mobile phone turned off. So I'm just waiting for it to come back to life right now. And while we're still waiting, I'm just gonna take some more questions, if there are any. So, if you can hear me, just ask the questions now, because I think it's the best time to do that. Also gonna see if I can. Oh yeah, okay, the phone is on. Cool. Let me bring that back on.